Hey guys, it's me, Cleo. So I can't get the capture card to work. I've tried and tried and tried and tried. So I thought I would just do a little, ow, get kicked in the boot by my cat. No. So I thought I would just tell you guys what I thought of Battlefield 3. I got it through Gamefly recently. And I went through the whole single player campaign, and I did some of the multiplayer. Now I know a lot of people say that you shouldn't even bother playing through Battlefield 3's storyline because they say, well, that it's really stupid and they didn't really put any thought into it. I decided to go through it anyway. One, because I like to go through the single player campaign first at least so I can learn the controls. And second, because I've never actually tried a Battlefield game before. I've played Call of Duty, and I've played, you know, of course I played Halo and Half-Life and all the zombie or alien ones, but I never played Battlefield. Just never got around to it. So anyway, I went through single player, and I actually didn't think it was that bad. Maybe this is just the opinion of some heathen who doesn't know better, but I thought it was okay. Pros of the single player. The controls are fine. I mean, they're, you know, pretty standard. I did mess up in the beginning a lot. I kept throwing grenades instead of sprinting because I kept thinking Halo Reach controls and that, you know, left bumper was sprint. So I had to restart a couple of missions because I accidentally killed all my teammates. But once I got that down, the controls were fine. And I did think the story was interesting. It was pretty weird at some points. I mean, it was kind of confusing because you switch who you are at some points and it sort of tells you who you are, but there's a lot that isn't explained. For instance, I'm still not exactly sure why we opened fire on the Russians. They probably said and I just didn't hear it, but that seemed kind of weird. I know the whole thing about the nuke and the fake nuke and the empty and the whatever. I'm not even going to go into it because one, I might accidentally spoil it for those of you who actually do care about the single player campaign, and two, I'll probably come out sounding special ed. The story's okay. The story's interesting enough, I guess. It's no, you know, War and Peace or Game of Thrones or anything like that, but it's definitely better than, I don't know, Duke Nukem? Now, cons. Biggest con has to be the space between freaking save points. Now, I played on the hardest difficulty. I don't remember if it was called hard or hardcore or whatever it was, but in that difficulty, when you get shot, you can only get shot maybe once or twice and then you're down. So I had to redo a whole lot of sections because I kept dying, but that in itself wasn't bad. I'm used to that. But my issue was with some of the freaking save points. I don't know why they decided to put one at the beginning of that mansion at the end and not put another until the freaking end of the mansion. I mean, that's almost an hour of gameplay that I kept having to redo every time I died. Now, eventually I did get through it. I freaking memorized where all the guys were. You know, I got the best weapon. I just took them out as soon as they were there and I got through it. And the sense of triumph when I did get through it was pretty sweet. But at the same point, I came this close to giving up the game, even though I was almost done with it, just because I was so frustrated at how they designed this freaking non-stop killer mansion with dudes everywhere throwing grenades at you and shooting you in the chest and, freaking, there's like 3 guys with rocket launchers. Why do you need 3 guys with rocket launchers in one house? Besides, it was so sad, that beautiful house getting destroyed. Although it was kind of weird that there's like no furniture. So that was one of the biggest cons. The second one might just be because I don't play that many first-person shooter games online usually. I used to, and then I got distracted by other games. But I felt there wasn't any kind of intro into the multiplayer experience. There's no tutorials, there's not even really any tooltips. I mean, there's some really painfully obvious ones like, lol, you should go behind cover, duh. No, really? But I mean, there wasn't really any explaining the difference between the classes. There wasn't anything talking about, okay, you know, when you're doing Conquest, you have to do this and blah, blah, blah. I mean, there's a little tiny bit of explanation, but it's seriously like the back of a book. You know, when you're like reading a book and you read the summary and it's like, oh, this happens and then this happens, you're like, oh, and then you read the book and it's totally different. Yeah, that's what the multiplayer experience is for me. I only played maybe 5 or 6 hours of the multiplayer, so I'm sure I would get a much better handle on it if I played it day in, day out like some of these people do. And I did enjoy it, it just definitely took some getting used to. And I kept having to go, hold on guys, because I started playing with some random people and I made some friends. I had to go offline so I could look stuff up on Wikipedia and figure out like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So, I don't know. It would have been nice if there was a little bit more, you know, explanation for us noob-sores who don't really play Battlefield type games all the time. I understand I'm not in the demographic. I understand I'm not like a knucklehead fraternity bro, so probably they shouldn't be catering the game to people like me. But that's my advice. If you want to have more people play the game, you know, more girls, more older people, maybe more kids, although I don't think you should have little kids playing a game that violent, just my 2 cents. you should probably include a little bit of material to help usher them into the playstyle, you know? Just a little bit. I'm not talking about how to shoot and stuff like that, because that's pretty universal. I'm just talking about, like, game modes. This is what you have to do. This is your opposition. This is, you know, your guys are green, their guys are red, or whatever. I don't know. And the last con, and this isn't even really a con, this is just a thing with realistic shooters that's always turned me off. I'm not a military grade weapons specialist buff, okay? So when you're like, oh, I grabbed a A579-30, I'm like, I have no idea what that is. I mean, the little pictures kind of help because you can tell a little bit, oh, this is an assault rifle, oh, this is a shotgun. But even still, the attachments are different, so you can't actually tell until you fire it. And it's just kind of frustrating trying to memorize all these different names just because, you know, they all sound kind of the same. Like, they're all numbers and stuff. And I'm sure that, like, to people who watch the History Channel, well, I watch the History Channel, but people who watch the modern history shows on the History Channel probably have a much better idea about that stuff. But again, if you want to bring some more people into the game that maybe necessarily haven't really been playing Battlefield before, it would be nice if you had, like, even just a little tiny tooltip when you press start that talks about the weapon you're holding and says, oh, you know, this is a shotgun, this is good for short range, and it shoots this many bullets at a time, and it can hold this many, well, you can kind of tell the capacity, but you know what I mean. Like, at least tell us if this is a shotgun or an assault rifle or whatever, because there's some guns in there that when I fired them, I thought they were shotguns, and then I found out, no, they're sniper rifles or whatever. Like, sometimes they have scopes, sometimes they don't, sometimes they have alternate fire, sometimes they don't, you know, so all that stuff was really kind of overwhelming, I guess we'll say. Power overwhelming. Why am I quoting StarCraft? Anyway, I guess that's pretty much it. It was a fun game. It was an experience. It was fairly immersive. It was very satisfying when I did finally get through it, because like I said, I kept having to redo a lot because of the whole checkpoint thing. Shut up, bird. I will put an AK-47 bullet in your face! Just kidding, just kidding. I'm not that violent, just kidding. I'm sorry, I'm kidding. What was I saying? I need a sound studio. Right, so, it was fun, and it was somewhat scary. Just trying to learn everything and memorize all the weapon names, and trying to remember not to throw grenades at my teammates thinking it's the sprint button. Don't know why I kept doing that over and over and over. And as a final note, if you want to play with me, my gamer tag is Bane Raide. I will put it in the description so you can just, you know, see exactly how it's spelled, because it's kind of weird, I guess. It's not like, oh, Princess Sarah 555 or Blunty 7999912. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of generic Xbox names. I'm sorry. But if you want to play with me, you better hurry up, because next on the list is Crysis 2. Yay! By the way, this is a new webcam and I have no idea how to use it, so I apologize if the quality is shite. I tried. Okay. Okay. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna go play some more Skyrim. Ciao.